Hello everyone. Today our main objective of task number 4 with Sparks Foundation's internship is an exploratory data analysis on terrorism. My name is Abhiram Sharma and let's get straight to our objective. So our objective is to perform an exploratory data analysis on global terrorism's dataset and identifying hot zones of terrorism and uh, retrieving insights from it. So first of all, we start with importing libraries, and the most important library in all of this is Matplotlib, and we it helps us plot. It helps us a lot in plotting graphs, and we also start off with making sure that the only file that we have in our input folder is the global terrorism file, and then we start off reading it with this function, and we get an overview of it with the head function. Then we rename the columns so that it gets easy for the user to have the columns being easily readable. For example, uh, in case of country underscore txt, we just name it down country, so it's a bit more simpler. And then we check the null values, and then we derive info of each column with their specific data types. For example, year is in the data type of integer, and countries are in the data type of objects because they cannot be numbers. So we start getting information by using this function value counts.id max, and for example, country with the most attacks. So we take the country column, and we use this function to get the country that has the highest count of attacks, and which comes out to be Iraq. And this list us a lot of different features with the data set, like the city with most attacks, region with most attacks, and etc etc. And then we go to the number of attacks over the years, so which is also an insight that we need. So we can see that it's an year-wise count of all around the world, and we can see its visualization here. And then we see the area plot. Now, an area plot is not dependent on one's uh, number representation, but the area covered by a specific region. For example, if we see that the Central America is placed here, it does not mean that it has the highest number of terrorist activities. It just means that the area it covers all over the graph, especially here, is less. So it has the least amount of terrorist activities in this part of the year. And we can also derive that Middle East and North Africa have the highest amount of terrorist activities because they cover the most area. Like Middle East and North Africa include regions like Iraq and Afghanistan, so we can get them. So now we derive the number of casualties. So a casualty in our sense is usually either a person that was killed or a person that was wounded. And we make a different data set for it, and we call it heat. So why we call it heat, I'll tell you later. So when we make this data set of casualties, our country is becomes the index, and the years become the columns, as shown in the line here. And we import another module which is very important for heat mapping. And what heat mapping does is that what we are comparing here is three different dimensions: number of casualties, countries, and the years, all over the years. And What we can see here is that we cannot represent three different dimensions in a 2D graph, but using heat maps, we can actually represent three different dimensions. So uh, this is why we use heat maps. And last but not the least, we derive the number of countries that have the highest amount of terror attacks, and uh, this includes Iraq, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. And yes, and we visualize it with this 2D graph. And so, in conclusion, for the exploratory data analysis, it's that uh, terror attacks in Middle East Africa are heavily severe to the people that live there. Although it seems that they occur mostly in Muslim countries, but Muslims are the ones that suffer the most from terrorist attacks. So thank you and have a good day.